Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into ACIM Lesson 103. And the core lesson we're focusing on is simply this. God, being love, is also happiness. If you've ever tried to untangle the whole complicated mess of love, fear, and human happiness, well, this text actually offers a really fascinating framework for it. Let's break down this philosophy step by step so we can see exactly how it plays out in our everyday lives.
So right off the bat, we get that core thesis. God, being love, is also happiness. Just take a second and really let that sink in. The text uses this phrase as a sort of rhythmic anchor. It's the foundational truth that literally everything else we're going to look at is built right on top of. It's establishing an absolute equivalence. It's basically saying you absolutely cannot separate these three concepts, God, love, and happiness. They are the exact same thing. And if you hold on to this one sentence, the rest of the logic we're about to explore is going to click into place perfectly. Now, the underlying logic here defines happiness in a very specific way. It tells us that happiness is a direct attribute of love. It can't be apart from it, and you definitely can't experience it where love isn't present. And the reasoning is actually remarkably straightforward. The text states that love has no limits. It's everywhere. Therefore, because love is everywhere, joy has to be everywhere too. It's a simple chain of logic, right? Limitless love equals limitless joy. You literally can't have one with the other. But of course, if we pause for a second and just look at our actual lived experience, a pretty glaring question pops up. If love and joy are limitless and everywhere, well, why do we so often feel the exact opposite? Why in the world do we associate love with fear? Why do we feel anxiety, apprehension, or pain when we think about a higher power, or even just when we experience deep love in our own personal lives? This is the pivotal question the text tackles next. It totally acknowledges this massive disconnect between the philosophy of boundless joy and the internal conflict that, let's be honest, we all face every single day.
And here is exactly where the text says we go off track. There is a really stark contrast between the ultimate truth, that love and joy are continuous, and what the lesson calls the strange belief. According to the text, the human mind basically invents this strange belief. We start believing there are somehow gaps in love. We imagine these empty spaces where sin and pain can just sneak in, bringing misery instead of joy. We are literally making up these illusions, these little gaps in our own minds, completely denying the reality that love is actually boundless.
So what's the domino effect of this basic mental error? Let me kind of act as a translator here for what the text is laying out. When we buy into those imaginary gaps in love, it actively limits our happiness. Second, it redefines love as something limited rather than infinite. Third, it introduces opposition, the whole idea of pain and sin, into something that naturally doesn't even have an opposite. And finally, the absolute ultimate tragedy of this basic error. It leads us to associate fear with love and fear with God. The text points out that these images of pain have zero reality and truth, yet they somehow become the heritage of our minds. We end up fearing God, totally forgetting that, being love, he absolutely must be joy.
So let's look at the one correction we need to make, which is all about shifting our perspective.
And this quote right here is the absolute heart of that correction. To fear him is to be afraid of joy. The meaning is pretty stark. The text is urging us to realize that when we fear God, or when we flinch away from boundless love, we are literally just running away from our own happiness. Because again, they are the exact same thing. To be afraid of one is to be afraid of the other. By correcting this false belief that God is fear, we can suddenly realize that happiness actually belongs to us by default.
Now let's talk about your daily practice and how we go about actively bringing this truth to mind.
The text lays out a really specific three-part practice schedule, so you know exactly how to apply this mental shift. Step 1. Begin your longer exercises for the day with this association explicitly to correct the false belief that God is fear. Step 2. Allow this one correction to be placed within your mind each and every waking hour today. Literally every single hour you're awake, you remind yourself of this truth to welcome the happiness it brings. And step 3, bolster this expectation frequently throughout the day. The text actually asks you to actively quiet your fears with this assurance. When you expect joy to take the place of pain, the text promises that, because God is love, it will absolutely be given to you.
To wrap everything up, the main lesson to take away today is simply, God, being love, is also happiness. Remember your practice summary for the day. Bring this to mind each waking hour and bolster it frequently throughout your day. The text leaves us with this incredibly empowering mantra to use. God, being love, is also happiness. And it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this helpful, definitely hit that like button and subscribe for more. But before you go, I want you to ask yourself, what strange beliefs about fear are you willing to let go of today in order to finally welcome your own happiness?